Let's be honest. There are things women secretly want men to do, things they will rarely admit out loud. Not because they're manipulative or dishonest, but because the gap between what we say we want and what we actually respond to emotionally can be genuinely difficult to explain, even to ourselves. Today we're going to bridge that gap. Not with manipulation tactics, not with tricks, but with a clear-eyed look at the psychological patterns that drive genuine attraction, patterns that exist whether we acknowledge them or not. Most men go through life listening to what women say they want, and ignoring what women actually respond to. And that gap between words and reality is where connection is lost before it ever has a chance to form. If you're ready to understand what's really happening beneath the surface, hit subscribe right now and stay with me all the way to the end. Because the final point is the one that transforms attraction into something deeper, something that lasts. Let's begin. 1. She wants to feel emotionally claimed, not controlled. This is the one most men never fully understand. And it's the one that, when present, transforms attraction into something that feels more like devotion. In an age where independence is celebrated and vulnerability is sometimes seen as weakness, women still carry a deep primal longing to belong to someone. Not in a possessive or controlling way, but in the way that says, "You are my person. I am yours." And that bond is real. She wants to feel like you see her, truly see her, beneath all the masks and defenses she carries through the world. She wants to know that you understand her fears and accept her complexity, that you've created enough emotional safety that she can be completely herself with you. And when that happens, when she feels genuinely seen without being judged, something in her surrenders. Not because you demanded it, because you earned it. The philosopher Martin Buber wrote, "All real living is meeting." Real meeting, not surface-level interaction, is what creates this feeling. The meeting of two people who are genuinely present with each other. That quality of presence, unhurried, non-judgmental, deeply attentive, is what makes a woman feel emotionally claimed without a single word of possession being spoken. This kind of connection comes from consistency, from showing up when it's inconvenient, from making her feel so secure in where she stands that she never has to wonder. And when a woman feels that, her loyalty becomes something that doesn't require maintenance or management. It simply is. So, what does this mean practically? Start by being fully present in your interactions. Not half present. Not performing presence while your mind is elsewhere. Actually there, listening with your eyes and your attention and your patience. Because the man who can be fully present with a woman, consistently over time, is giving her something genuinely rare. And rare things are treasured. Now, let's look at something that most men believe will push women away, when in reality, it does the opposite. 2. She wants you to say no, and mean it. Most men believe that saying yes to everything will make her happy. That agreement equals kindness. That accommodation equals love. It doesn't. And this might be the most important point in this entire video. A woman secretly respects a man who sets boundaries. Not angrily, not defensively, but calmly and without apology. Because when you tell her no, and you mean it, you're showing her something that constant agreement never can. You're showing her that your yes actually means something. That you are not controlled by her approval. That you respect yourself enough to hold your own ground. Women aren't actually attracted to men they can control completely. They're attracted to men who have an internal compass that doesn't shift with external pressure. And that compass becomes visible most clearly in moments of friction, in moments when saying yes would be easier. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Self-mastery, including mastery of your own boundaries, is one of the most consistently attractive qualities a man can demonstrate. Not because it creates power over her, but because it signals that he has power over himself. She may test this. She may push to see if you'll hold firm. And when you do, when you remain grounded and calm in your no, her respect for you deepens in a way that no amount of accommodation could create. Here's what I want you to practice. This week, identify one place where you've been saying yes out of avoidance rather than genuine willingness. And say no, calmly, warmly, without a lengthy explanation. And notice how the dynamic shifts, not just with her, but within yourself. The man who can walk away is the man she'll work to keep. Now, let's look at a principle that confuses many men because it seems counterintuitive at first. 3. She wants to chase you, even if she'll never admit it. Here's a psychological truth that most people understand intellectually, but few actually apply. Women value what they earn more than what they're handed. And when a man is too available, too eager, or too predictable, attraction quietly fades. Not because she's cruel, but because her brain stops producing the chemical experience of pursuit. Human beings are wired to pursue what retreats, and to retreat from what pursues too aggressively. This isn't manipulation. It's basic psychology documented across decades of behavioral research. When something is easily obtained, our brains assign it lower value. When something requires investment and genuine effort, our brains become genuinely engaged with it. The psychologist B.F. Skinner demonstrated, behavior is most persistent when it is rewarded on a variable schedule. Variable reward, unpredictable, earned, not guaranteed, creates the strongest engagement. And this is exactly what a man with a full, genuine life naturally provides. Not through strategy, through actually having somewhere else to be. Here's the critical distinction I want you to understand. This is not about playing games. This is not about calculating response times or manufacturing unavailability. This is about genuinely having a life, a mission, a purpose, goals, friendships, passions that legitimately demands your time and energy. When you're occasionally scarce because you're building something real, that's attractive. When you're performing scarcity while actually doing nothing, she will feel the inauthenticity, and it will push her away.
So here's what I want you to do.
This week, invest in one thing that belongs entirely to your own life.
Not as a tactic.
As a genuine reclamation of your own direction. And notice what happens to the energy between you and her when your life has genuine momentum of its own. Now, let's look at a quality that most men are never told is attractive because it sounds on the surface like the opposite of warmth. 4. She wants you to have depth, light, and dark both. Women are drawn to contrast. They want the kind man who can also be firm when needed, the gentle man who can also hold a boundary with absolute steadiness, the protector who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, the person whose calmness you trust precisely because you sense the capacity for intensity behind it. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction. When women say they want a nice man, they're telling the truth, but only part of it. They want a man who treats them well, who is kind and respectful and genuinely good. And they also want a man who has depth, who has lived through something, who carries complexity rather than a one-dimensional pleasantness that has never been tested. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." Depth, genuine depth, is invisible to most people precisely because most people aren't looking for it. But a woman with her own inner complexity will find it the most compelling thing in a room. Not the man who performs confidence. The man whose steadiness comes from having genuinely been through something and remaining whole. What does this look like practically? It looks like calmness that doesn't require the situation to be easy. It looks like the ability to handle conflict without losing yourself. It looks like a man who can be fully present in the warmth of connection and fully present in the discomfort of a difficult conversation, without either mode destroying the other. Show her you have layers. Show her that you contain both strength and gentleness, that they coexist in you without contradiction. That complexity is what she will find herself thinking about long after the conversation ends. Now, let's look at the kind of leadership that most men confuse with control, when it's actually the opposite. 5. She wants you to take the lead, with calm certainty, not force. Even the most independent woman feels an undeniable pull toward a man who knows what he wants and takes the lead. Not because she wants to be controlled, but because genuine confidence is one of the rarest things available and one of the most naturally calming to encounter. Think about her daily reality. She makes hundreds of decisions every day. What to wear, what to eat, how to handle that difficult email, how to navigate that complicated relationship. She is constantly in problem-solving mode. And when she is with you, deep down, she doesn't want to make another decision. She wants to exhale, She wants to trust that you have this, that you can navigate the moment with clarity and purpose without requiring her to manage the situation for both of you. When you say, I know a great place, let's go there, instead of, where do you want to go, you are giving her something she cannot get from constantly being the one who decides everything. You are giving her the freedom to simply be. The psychologist William James wrote, "The greatest revolution of our generation is the discovery that human beings, by changing the inner attitudes of their minds, can change the outer aspects of their lives." The inner attitude of a leader is not dominance. It is certainty. It is the internal decision that he is capable of handling what is in front of him without needing external validation to confirm that. Here's the distinction most men miss. Leadership is not about barking orders. It is about being so internally settled that following your lead feels natural rather than forced. The moment she feels you can handle her world without needing her approval to do so, that's when attraction becomes something almost involuntary. Practice this in small moments. Make the reservation. Choose the direction on the walk. Handle the uncertain moment without looking to her for reassurance. Not to perform leadership, but to actually lead. Now, let's look at a quality that most people think of as withdrawal, when it's actually about the presence of a genuine life. 6. She wants you to pull back slightly, not disappear. If you give her constant attention, every text answered immediately, every evening available, your entire schedule arranged around her, she begins to feel something that undermines the attraction. Not gratitude. Suffocation. Not warmth. A subtle, uncomfortable sense of being the one who decides the pace for both of you. When you pull back slightly, when you don't always text first, when you're genuinely engaged in your own life, her mind begins doing something interesting. She starts wondering. She starts noticing. She starts investing attention in you, because her attention was not guaranteed to always find you instantly available. This is about genuine independence, not manufactured unavailability. When you have a life you're genuinely excited about, hobbies, goals, friendships, purpose, you naturally won't be glued to your phone waiting for her messages. And that natural, organic unavailability is infinitely more attractive than the performance of it. The psychologist Abraham Maslow wrote, "What a man can be, he must be." This need we may call self-actualization. A man in active pursuit of his own self-actualization, genuinely building something, genuinely engaged with his own growth, is not always immediately available. And that truth, lived authentically rather than performed strategically, creates exactly the kind of energy that pulls rather than pushes. The key word is slightly. You're not disappearing. You're not being cold. You're simply being a man with a life that matters, and occasionally that life takes legitimate priority over immediate response. And now, the final quality. The one that most men avoid entirely because it seems to risk rejection, when it actually creates the deepest form of connection. 7. She wants you to tease her. Playfully, not cruelly. Most men are either too careful or too cold. Women secretly crave the middle ground. The man who can play with her emotionally just enough to create genuine aliveness in the interaction. When you tease her with warmth and a light touch, you create something she will replay later. Because teasing communicates something that no compliment can communicate as efficiently. I'm not intimidated by you. And that is powerfully attractive. When you tease a woman, done right, you're communicating multiple things simultaneously. You're showing that you're comfortable enough to challenge her. That you're not walking on eggshells around her. That you have a personality with genuine texture, one that can't be managed or made predictable. And you're creating small emotional spikes, moments of surprise that break the flat, careful pattern that most men follow around women they're attracted to. The psychologist Robert Cialdini documented, "The way to love anything is to realize that it might be lost." Playful tension, the brief, warm uncertainty of not knowing exactly what comes next from you, creates exactly that sense of aliveness. She doesn't know if her next comment will get a straight answer or a laugh. And that unpredictability makes the interaction feel genuinely real rather than carefully managed. Here's the critical boundary. Teasing must come from a place of warmth, not cruelty. There is an enormous difference between playful banter and cutting mockery. Real teasing says, "I see you, I like you, and I'm comfortable enough with both of us to joke." Cruelty says something entirely different. Women feel that distinction instantly. One makes her feel alive. The other makes her feel unsafe.
Here's what I want you to try.
In your next conversation, find one moment where you would normally give a straightforward, agreeable response. And instead, offer something light, warm, slightly unexpected. Not a rehearsed line, just a genuine moment of playfulness. And notice what changes in the energy between you. Now you know. These 7 things are not about manipulation. They're not about games. They are about understanding the psychological patterns that drive genuine human attraction and showing up as the kind of man who embodies them naturally rather than performing them strategically. Led with calm certainty. Set boundaries from a place of self-respect. Maintain a genuine life that generates natural independence. Develop real depth rather than surface pleasantness. Pull back when your life genuinely calls you elsewhere. Create warmth through playful honesty. And make her feel emotionally seen, truly seen, in a way that most people never offer each other. When you lead this way, with confidence, boundaries, independence, depth, and genuine presence, you are not playing games. You are simply being the kind of man that women naturally gravitate toward. The kind of man who understands that attraction is not always logical and that the heart responds to things that can be felt before they can be named. Apply these principles with integrity. Use them to build genuine connections, not to control or manipulate. Because real power in any relationship comes not from dominance, but from authenticity. From being grounded and unshakable in who you are. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 resonated most with where you are right now? Drop it in the comments below, and tell me which one you're going to apply first. I read every single comment, and I'll personally reach out to some of you. And if this video gave you something real to think about, like it, share it with someone who needs this perspective, and subscribe if you haven't already because we go deep on exactly these kinds of truths every single week. Because once you understand the patterns beneath attraction, you'll never see yourself the same way. You'll understand your own value. And you'll know how to show up as the man you were always capable of being. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It genuinely means everything to me. I'll see you in the next video.
Stay strong.
Stay authentic. Take care of yourself.